Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Work Comp Talk. Yes, we are back with the one and only Bilal Kassem joining me in this special edition episode where we get to dive into the story of someone very interesting that we just so happened to meet randomly. Well, wasn't that random? Bilal will talk all about it, but Bilal, why don't you do the introduction for our guest speaker today that everyone is already looking at?
Sure. So at Pacific Workers, we do a lot of work with first responders, firefighters, and police officers throughout the Bay Area. And unfortunately, Max Fortuna at Stockton Fire happened to be killed in the line of duty. And it was through that experience and donating to their cause that we came across this organization called Fund the First, which is an organization started by our guest here today, which is Robert Garland. Thank you for joining us. And we're going to have him on today to talk a little bit about what his organization is, who he is, where he came from, and what his plans are for the future. So, Robert, we're very much excited to have you on the show today. So thank you for joining us.
Likewise. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So, Robert, I understand you're a New Yorker.
A little bit different from Cali.
Not from Texas.
Yes. Yes.
And you've been a detective now in the New York City Police Department for 12 years now?
Going on 14. I know my bio is a little outdated. I have to update it, that's for sure. But going on 14 years.
Look at you. So how do you find the time between being a detective in New York and also having the time to create some amazing platform like Fund the First?
Well, like I said before we started the show, I did learn how to freeze time. So that's how, I really develop everything. But now there's always time in the day for anything you do. And as long as you're motivated and you have a determination and a will to do something, there's always time. Listen, we have, how many of us want to get 8 hours of sleep a day? Forget about that sleep. Just work.
That's why we have Red Bull and coffee and everything else, all the over-the-counter problem solvers. So what inspired you to start Fund the First?
So I'll backtrack a second. Let's go back to my career in the NYPD. I was with the NYPD for 14 years so far. I'll be retiring very shortly due to an injury. I'm okay though, don't worry. As long as I can pick up my kids, that's all that matters. Now, I started in Midtown. I worked around different places from doing patrol, from doing anti-crime, and then working my way into narcotics and a detective squad, and then coming back to narcotics again. But while I was in narcotics, we see so many things go on, right? And in narcotics, I saw the worst of the worst. And when you see the worst of the worst, sometimes it brings out the best in people. People are always looking for a way to help others during those horrible times. And as officers, firefighters, any first responders, military medical providers, we see so much in our careers. And there's always, unfortunately, on a daily basis, something happening where someone needs help. But the problem is when you go through those things and people are looking for that help, they don't know where to necessarily give it. They don't know how to do it. They don't necessarily trust these other platforms that are out there, the GoFundMes, the Fundlies, the Kickstarters, whatever it may be. They don't trust it because there's no real verification. There's no vetting. There's no true cause that gives back to those who serve, those, who protect us every single day, their families as well, their friends, businesses like you guys do, nonprofits alike. There's no one that really gives back. So we saw this and we saw a need for it because of what I was going. While working in narcotics, my immediate supervisor, one of my best friends, his daughter, she passed away at 2.5 years old from a very rare illness. And seeing him go through the hardship and the financial crisis, the medical crisis, everything that they were going through, I wanted to do something for him. But what was that? What can I do? Was I going to throw her up on GoFundMe per se and say, let's raise funds? But then now we're in New York and now out there in California, someone uses her face to benefit off of their hardship. It happens every day, unfortunately. Every day you'll see for the same cause, 6, 7 fundraisers. How do you know which one to give to? How do you know that the organizers are actually giving those funds? It's an issue. It's a major, major issue in the crowdfunding industry. So
people that are not part of that family create these fake GoFundMe accounts, ask for the money, keep the money themselves, and the money never ends up getting to the family who actually needs it.
Correct. It happens day in and day out. Wow. And it's quite honestly, it's disgusting. It's disgusting what goes on out there in the crowdfunding space. And you know what? These companies don't care. These companies that have these platforms that are raising funds, they're not going to do the vetting. They're making their money. They don't care. They're not going to do it.
So
I wanted to.
They make their money on the fees then on the back end?
Yeah.
there's fees, there's different structures. Every platform has a different structure, and I'll get into my structure as well with that. But they're making their money. They don't care about the verification. They just know that they've become the verb, right? GoFundMe's become the verb. Everyone knows GoFundMe, so people are going to use them regardless, right? But I wanted to solve the problem in the industry, and that's verification. That's vetting. That's giving those who serve something that they could rely on. And that's what we did. We created fundthefirst.com. And fundthefirst.com was launched in July of 2020. And now, in almost 2 years, we have 340 fundraisers on the platform nationwide so far, including Max Fortuna's, which rest in peace, Max. But I'm glad that his family is able to get a support system right now. And those campaigns have raised a combined almost $4 million now. It's growing every single day.
That's
But like,
amazing.
but like any fundraiser, and we'll use Max's, his tragic incident, but we'll use his for example. That fundraiser has now raised over $200,000. The reason it's raised that amount of money is because people have come together and shared it properly. They share it with the networks. They have that emotional connection, and people know they're donating, and all they got to do is research what is Fund the First. They research and they say, oh wow, his wife was verified. We know that the money is actually going to the wife. It's not going to the organizer of that fundraiser. The organizer never touched those funds. Only the beneficiary will get those funds from us directly. And we verify everything. We have a partnership with ID.me to ensure that transparency, to ensure the trusted experience. So donors know their money is going to an honest source. And it's so important. And I'm just so happy to be able to provide the nation with a source that they can rely on. And thank you for giving me the stage to get to different listeners, because not everyone knows about Fund the First. People may have heard about it over the past almost 2 years, but they don't know about it yet. And the more we educate people and let people understand that we're here, we care, and we're verified and we're trusted, that's so important. And one other thing, we're free. We don't have any administrative fees. There's nothing. So
That's
that's
fantastic.
that's an important aspect of fundraising and crowdfunding. I mean, people donate to nonprofits all the time. And then you look up the nonprofits IRS intake on their 990 forms at the end of the year, and you see how much money actually went in and out. And it's very disturbing,
Hmm.
the amounts of money. Businesses, I mean, any business has to thrive. They have to have they have to monetize somehow, because we all have expenses, right? But sometimes these businesses, like crowdfunding platforms, they're charging anywhere from 5% to 22%. Those are insane numbers. We wanted to make sure, and we had a 5% fee when we started, very small, but we looked at it and we looked at everything we're doing and we said, we want to make sure that the person that the money is intended for maximizes on that dollar. And the only way we could do that is if we took away our 5% fee. And we did. And it's really been incredible. I'm just so glad that people are starting to come to realize what we're doing and why we're here.
So you said you started this in 2020 and you've already completed over 300 plus campaigns and raised over $4 million. Did you ever think it was going to get this big this fast?
Um, when we originally started, we had outrageous numbers based on the industry. Now, when you look at the industry as a whole in crowdfunding, it's a multi-billion dollar industry with millions of campaigns created a year across hundreds of different platforms. And we said we're a niche, right? We're a unique platform directed towards a unique audience. However, anybody can use it. You don't have to be a first responder, military, medical provider, nurse, teacher to use our platform. There just has to be the
I'm glad you said
nexus,
that. I
right?
was going to ask, is this
Yeah,
only for firefighters, only
no,
for, people in service?
right. There just has to be the nexus, and we're always there to help. We're always available to provide that nexus. Everything is very self-explanatory on our website. When you click start a fundraiser, it's all there. But starting this, unfortunately, everything comes out of a hardship. Sometimes the good things come out of a hardship, but we're just happy that it's fruitful now. It's doing what it has to do.
Absolutely. So when you're thinking of Fund the First and you're thinking the next 5 years, where do you see your organization going?
In the next 5 years, well, I'm hoping in the next 2 years that we're a household name.
Oh,
That's what we're hoping
look.
for. We've done some incredible work over the past 19, 20 months, and we've been everywhere, featured in the news, featured all over social media, and luckily we haven't really had to do any digital advertisements. It's been a lot of organic growth, but we're still only into a fraction of the market. Even though 340 fundraisers on our platform that people come to our website and just start. We vet them, we verify them, we help them go through their process, and we give them a unique experience. You know, we're still not even tapped into the entire market. Once we
Hmm.
tap into the entire market and everyone, and we become that verb, Fund the First becomes that verb, we go from 340 fundraisers in 20 months to 340 fundraisers in a week. That's when
Yeah.
it really starts to happen. People say, "Wow, this is a trusted source that we can rely on." And it's gonna take. I'm hoping, my hope, and with my motivation, everything, my team's motivation and drive, we're hoping that in the next 2 years we're there, and I think we really can be. And it's things like this, the organic growth of just jumping on a podcast with unique audiences that haven't heard what we do. And then
Right.
it's in the back of their mind now. They're like, "Oh wait, there's that Fund the First platform. Let me use that instead."
Hmm.
And it's good that we have this type of conversation because had you not found Fund the First, we would have even known about it. Our go-to is GoFundMe. Um, of course, a lot of people are also unaware that there's numerous accounts, fake accounts. There's a lot of money just being thrown out there, and it's not really going for use of a great cause or to the person it's supposed to go to. So, having these type of conversations has allowed us to kind of just spread the word and lucky for you guys organically not having to put some money behind it to just get the word out when you do good things people notice and
Right,
that's all you need just to know that the
right.
people will trust and that they can trust the company and it grows organically.
Absolutely. And, from my work working with law enforcement and fire departments and such, I've learned throughout the years that it's a tight knit group.
Yep.
And it's not easy to earn or deserve the trust that comes with those relationships. And I think the fact that you've been able to earn the trust of peers and others in the community speaks largely about you as a person and your organization and what you guys do for the community. Um, that
Thank you, thank you.
you're not just putting out an ad like, hey, fund this, fund that, and
Yeah.
here's give us 10% of your fees, and maybe it'll go to the right cause, and here's these other
Maybe.
fees and all this stuff. Like it's wholeheartedly a fantastic operation, and I think it speaks volume that you've been able to accomplish as much as you have, especially during I guess the last rocky couple of years for
Literally.
society in general. So it's been a fantastic
No, thank
opportunity, I
you.
think,
It's been a tough
and it's
time,
filled a
obviously.
niche, like you said. I think so. Yeah, yeah.
It's funny.
The fact that he was able to
It's funny
pull
when
it
I get on
off
the phone.
in 2020.
Oh
Go ahead,
yeah, during that
Robert.
time, forget about it.
Yeah.
No, it cut out for a second. Paused. I don't know what was going on my computer. um, no, you're right. During 2020, we pulled it off, and it was scary to really like, oh, are we going to be able to do this during the pandemic, during everything that's going on? And there was still a lot of need. People still have needs, but fundraising doesn't have to necessarily be a hardship. People use our platform for toy drives, for baking
Mhm,
cookies, whatever it may be. There's all different
mhm,
forms, but the biggest thing is the verification part. You know that your donation's going to a true source. But I wanted to say, to backtrack for a second, I take it a step above on our platform, and I'll always do this. It's just in my nature, it's who I am. I make sure that I personally contact every organizer and beneficiary on our platform. So that's over 600 people that I've contacted. And not only that, obviously we do a lot more to contact everybody. But when I call up, I originally say, hey, my name is Robert Garland. I'm the CEO of FundTheFirst.com. How can I help you? And oh, thank you so much. Blah, blah, the CEO's calling me. But then I level with them. I say, I'm also an NYPD detective. I understand what you're going through. This is not about the business aspect of things. I want to help you. How can I help you? And that's where they get that the relief comes off their shoulders. They're like, oh wow, this guy has been through it. He understands what's going on. And that's an extra trust factor. So I'm able to do that and relate with people on a different level that maybe a businessman, for instance, maybe the CEO of Fundly, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, GoFundMe, can't relate to people on that level. So
Hmm.
that's
Yeah, I
why
was gonna say I don't know that the CEO of GoFundMe or anything is adding that personal touch and calling up potential fundraisers like that at all. So
no,
I,
yes.
on that note, if I wanted to start a fundraiser and I wanted to use Fund the First, walk me through what that process looks like.
Well, give me an example. What would you want to do a fundraiser for?
So let's say I had a colleague that unfortunately passed away, and I wanted to raise money for their significant other and family to support them, through the tough time until they get things squared away. How would I go about setting that
Okay,
up?
so is that colleague a first responder, military, medical provider, or no?
We'll go with first responder just for this example. Sure.
Okay, so for this example, so now you don't have the background, right? You don't have any
Yeah.
background in military first. Okay. So it's very, very simple. So this will be in your scenario right here. Let's say you're organizing a campaign for a first responder that passed away and you want to raise funds for the next of kin, right?
Yep.
What was that noise? Did you guys hear that? I don't even know what that was.
A little bit. Yeah, I got that.
um, so you want to raise funds for their next of kin, whether their spouse, their children, whatever it is. You're going to go to fundthefirst.com. You're going to click start a fundraiser. Then there's a couple of options. So now there's going to be an option for a myself campaign, a someone else available, someone else unavailable, nonprofit charity, or a tier incentive. I could explain all of them, but let's explain this one. With this particular instance, you would select someone else unavailable. What that would do, and everything's in our FAQ section, so it breaks it down. But what that would do, that would make you as the organizer, okay? And then you would manually input the beneficiary, which would be the family of Jim Smith, Officer Jim Smith, let's say, right? And then you create the fundraiser. But now here's the problem that goes into it, right? And here's where our team has to come in with this specific scenario. At the end, it's going to say, since this is a someone else unavailable campaign, meaning the beneficiary passed away, incapacitated, whatever it may be, we need you to verify. But now you're not any of those group statuses. You're not first responder. You're not military. You're not a teacher. You're not a nurse. You're not a medical provider. Then it will say, if you cannot do this, please contact info@fundthefirst.com. That's where our team steps in. We're going to contact the beneficiary who is the next of kin. We're going to make sure that that next of kin was in fact married or living together, whatever it is. We're going to get all documents necessary. And then we're going to manually accept that campaign and activate it and make it live. You as the organizer will never touch those funds. The funds will be issued via check only to the beneficiary, which is, it's an incredible process. That's a little bit more of a manual process, but I'm happy that I explained that to you, so your understanding of it. Now, let's say you went to a platform like GoFundMe, right? You would just
Mhm.
start that campaign, 1, 2, 3, it'll be done. 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
done, whatever.
Put a
But
story,
now
put a
those funds,
picture, description,
right,
add your bank
right.
account. It goes directly into your bank account. It doesn't even get verified.
There we go. That's the issue. Now it's going to your bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Donors don't even realize that. They're relying on the fact that the money that went into your bank account just now, you're going to take that out and give it to the beneficiary of intent. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't.
So
So
then
that,
Fund the First actually holds the funds
mhm.
almost like kind of like an escrow, I guess, until everything's done. The campaign is over, and
Yep.
then the check is cut directly to the beneficiary. Which the fact that you actually contact the beneficiary and verify everything is
Yeah.
a fantastic step that I feel like gives a lot of people a sense of security to ensure that the funds are going to the right place. It's
Oh
huge.
yeah, it's really important. I mean, they get that sense of security, like you said. They understand that this is trusted. That's so
Mhm.
important. And we're trying to figure out ways of really portraying this on the platforms so people understand that more. But it's difficult because when you have a website and you have all these different things going on, sometimes more things are worse. So we try to be as, if you guys have visited
Yeah.
fundthefirst.com, we try to be as simple as possible. And it's there,
I have,
but
and
we're
it's a great
always
website.
available. We're not, thank you, thank you. We're not one of those teams and companies where you email us and it takes a week to get back or you never get back. You email us, and I can guarantee you this. You go make up a fake email and email us any question. We're answering you within 5 minutes of that email.
Look at that.
It's
We're
great.
right to you.
It's great.
Right to you. If we have to pick up the phone and call, we're calling. If you leave a number, most of the time, if you leave a number, we're calling. So we're there right away.
Absolutely.
And you're not going to get customer service like that anywhere else. We make sure that people know we care.
So you mentioned ID me earlier. I know it's something the IRS just started
I know. I
recently
was going to
using.
ask. Can we dive into the whole
I know it's
ID?
a security protocol of some sorts, but for our listeners who aren't too familiar, can you explain what that is?
Sure. So ID.me is a verification processor. It's been around for a long, maybe 10 years now. Blake Cole's the
Mm-hmm.
CEO, former military, excellent guy. We're integrated, we're partners with them, and that's how we have this integration. IDME has been used for some different concepts, right? They've been used for discounts for stores, like they're integrated with the Oakley, all these different things. And if you're a first responder, military, medical provider, teacher, whatever they have it integrated as, you can verify and you can get a discount. They're also integrated with the IRS, and they verify credentials through there. They're integrated with DMVs. They verify credentials with there. So it's really important. And the process they have is incredible. They're building out a whole thing of the Web 3.0, and they're really building out a layer of verification. And that's what we need in today's society, especially. You need that verification. You need to know what you're doing, who you're handling, who you're dealing with, all that kind of stuff. We took their use case and we changed it. They've never been partnered with a crowdfunding platform before, especially for this unique and niche opportunity. And we did this, and they were like, "Wow, we got to do this. This is incredible." So for the users out there, if you don't have an ID.me account, they're integrated right into our platform. So when you're going through your campaign creation process, we're going to prompt you when to create your ID.me account and when to verify
Mm-hmm.
and go through all those steps. So everything's seamlessly integrated with that. Also, you don't have to create an account or any of that stuff to verify on our platform. If you create an account, create a campaign, if you create an account, you go right into your user dashboard and you can verify if you want to. Sometimes people like to do it, so they have their account already and they could use it elsewhere. We're building different things out where we're going to have, if you're a user on our platform, you get discounts to our store, if you're verified and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to have that down the line. But our main focus is the crowdfunding option, and ID.me has really given us something special for people to trust.
Yeah, I think that's the way we're going moving forward, regardless on any type of platform, whether it's crowdfunding or, even getting your DNA nowadays. Like everyone wants to make sure that you're going to own it and that your DNA is not going to be shared everywhere. And I think it's the new way we're going. And for listeners that are jumping in and listening to the podcast and trying to understand what Fund the First is, it's pretty much the safest way for you to get crowdfunding money. And you mentioned something about toy drives and cookie
Mhm.
sales. How does that play a role into the whole crowdfunding stuff as well?
People can crowdfund and raise money and fundraise for anything. There's no specific, really, you can only raise funds for this. Anything. We've had people utilize our platform to do a toy drive. Hey, I'm a police officer down in Florida. Um, every year I do a toy drive, and I'm using fundthefirst.com now and created this fundraiser to collect funds so I can do my toy drive. And that's it. Like they do it all the time. It's a nice experience, especially around the holidays. People do it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Listen, you have a business opportunity. We have what's called a tier incentive program, and you could create a campaign with specific tiers that have givebacks, which is really cool. So, like, let's say you have a t-shirt business and donate $10 at the end of the fundraiser. If we hit X amount of goal, you'll receive 2 shirts. Donate $50, you'll receive 30 shirts, like whatever it is. So we have
Mm-hmm.
that tier incentive. Any campaign on our platform is a gift. So you got to remember that money that you receive off the fundraiser, it's a common question that we get, is considered a gift. So any income from that is not considered income. It's a gift. You don't have to report it. However, if you have a business and you're doing a business type campaign where you're giving a give back and a tier incentive, you have to report that. That's a bit, we have a W-9 form for that that's on our platform when you start that campaign. So all of that has to be filled
So everything's legit. Everything is squared away. How did you guys come across in starting it with, or when it tied into Max Fortuna? Someone in that field had to have created this and reached out for you guys to be able to start that campaign. That didn't come from the police officers in New York, right?
No, no, that campaign was purely organic. I think they said they saw us on social media, and that was it. Click start a fund first, and they got going. But they got a phone call from me the second they created that fundraiser. So we see every fundraiser that gets created, and I
That's
got right on
awesome.
the phone right away. And I'm like, listen, what do you need help with? Because I always want to make sure that they're using the proper wording. They're not writing too much. They got a great photo up there, all that kind of stuff. So we see it in the process of being created, and I jump on the
Hmm.
phone right away. You know, how can I help?
It's like, what are you doing? You're writing too much. Don't use this word.
I
You
have
guys
done
have
that
done a
before.
tremendous job, I guess.
Thank you.
Are there
Thank
any mistakes along the way, in operating from the first that you wish you could take back, or you think that have really impacted the business? And
you. I wouldn't say mistakes. Now, let's use mistake as I don't know what word I'm looking to describe it as a learning experience, right? Those mistakes will help us build our foundation, help us grow into a better person, a better businessman, businesswoman, help our company grow. So every mistake you make is a failure you make technically, right? But then it will
Mm-hmm.
help you succeed down the line. So now I look at any mistakes that we've made and said, okay, we learned from that mistake. We're not going to do this again. Now, mistakes, we were a brand new platform. If you look at fundthefirst.com from the day we launched on July 4th of 2020 until today, what's today? March 11th, 2022. It's like night and day. It's completely different. But that's from user experiences, that's from feedback, that's from seeing what works, what doesn't work. So it takes time. You may have this great idea, but that great idea takes time to evolve until the perfect product. And we're not the perfect product yet.
Mm-hmm.
There's still a lot of things that need to be done, a lot of mistakes that have been made, but I'll never regret any of them. I mean, listen, we have spent money on things that we've said, okay, let's spend money on this, and we thought that it was going to be great, and then nothing happens. So,
Mm-hmm.
is that a mistake though? No. Now we just know never to make that purchase again, never to use that agency again. We learn from those mistakes. So we've grown, we evolve, and we keep growing and we keep learning every single day so we can better ourselves as people with the company and better ourselves as a
Mhm.
platform to give back to those who need it.
It's good
Awesome.
too.
Awesome.
Now you mentioned you called everyone that has
Mhm.
created a campaign within your software, within the fundthefirst.com. What's going to happen 2 years from now when you have like 1,200 campaigns? You're really going to make 1,200 calls?
1,000%.
That's
And I
amazing.
promise you that, 1,000%.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
1,000%.
great.
It's just who I
Yeah.
am. I'll just, you
So,
know,
did you ever have a background in business, or is Fund the First your first foray into running a business?
Fund the First is my first major one. I've had little dibble dabbles and nonsense LLCs and little things, but you learn from your mistakes again. You learn from where your growth. But I really didn't really develop. I really developed into a businessman from narcotics and what I was doing with my casework, running major wire cases, across the whole East Coast and doing different takedowns and organizing different things. I realized if I could do this, I could transition into the business world. Why not? I could learn about raising capital. I could learn about, you know, regulations through the SEC. I could learn about, all different aspects of the business world that people don't necessarily even think about. So I wanted to better
Mhm.
myself in every aspect and have some sort of little education in every part of business that there is. And I only got that because of what I did as a detective, because I realized that the brain, the capacity, you could really hold anything up there. It's just how much you want
Yeah.
to work with it. So before Fund the First, nothing major. There was nothing major. My business partner, Michael, he's a CPA. He's got a really excellent firm up here in New York. If anybody's listening that is in Long Island, I highly recommend him. Not because I'm saying that, but highly recommend him.
It is tax time coming up.
It is. So, but he's excellent. But he's been in a couple businesses before. We played baseball together in college, and we came together to form Fund the First. And with our backgrounds and knowledge, we're always learning. Learning is everything. You can't say that you know everything. And unfortunately, there's too many top executives out there that think they know everything and they stop where they are when they can continue to grow. And that's what I always want to be. I want to be someone that continues to grow, but at the same time, while I grow, I allow my user base to grow with me and know that I'm still going to be on their level if they need me.
Absolutely. Was there ever a time where you thought it wasn't going to work and you thought about giving up?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, listen,
Yeah.
we get we get a couple of days sometimes where there's no fundraisers on the platform. Nothing hits. And you sit back and you're like, and I look at my girlfriend and I'm like, Heather, there's no campaigns today. And she's like, "Don't- stop. Like stop. Everything's gonna be fine. And you look at it, and but but then again, when you look at that, it's gonna work. And especially like I have 3 kids and they see me on TV and like, Daddy, you're on TV again. From the first on TV. And then when you think about that, you know, why give up? Why lose hope? Just keep it going.
Yeah.
But this is something that I truthfully believe, like I said earlier, within the next 2 years, worst case scenario, 5 years, we will be a household
Nice. Well, we're glad we get to have you in the podcast. First dibs. We called it first. I'm just kidding.
name.
No, he's actually was able to catch a couple of your podcast episodes. He
Oh,
does have
good.
a podcast. You can plug your podcast as well. That's totally fine. And it's pretty awesome that the platform has grown as much as it has. but it has to do with the mission behind it, which is the verification. You found a niche, you found a hole that was not being taken care of in that particular niche of crowdfunding. And, you know, you came up with the idea to benefit it and benefit those that are going to be doing, you know, campaigns and looking for that type of security. And dude, we got to connect with you guys. That's awesome. Thank you for the time.
Yeah, thank
No,
you for
thank
joining
you.
us
I
today.
appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
So if our
You can't
listeners
forget,
want to hear more from you, where would we find you on your podcast?
that was just what I was about to say. So
Perfect.
my podcast, I put a little hiatus on it. I'm going to be starting it back up probably in March, probably the end of April, Mayish. I've done 40 episodes so far, and they're really focused on people that have used our platform or that have background in first responders, military. I like hearing other people's stories. Everyone likes to hear stories. You know, what is your
Yep.
background? What have you done in your life? How can you get better? You know, like again, what were your mistakes? How did you learn from your mistakes? How did you evolve? So I like hearing about those kind of things. But I'm at the Heroes First podcast. That's everywhere you listen to any podcast. And then if you want to contact me directly, I'll give you my cell phone number. It's 201-431-5686. You could email Fund the First at info@fundthefirst.com. Everything's at www.fundthefirst.com. And also, we have a nonprofit organization that supports line of duty death families at thefallenfirstreserve.org. And it's a monetary value. What happens is, in the event of a line of duty death, unfortunately, we see it too often, we provide those families with an instant $5,000 check. So that's what the Fallen First Reserve nonprofit does. So you could donate right to our nonprofit there. But again, fundraising is everything. So by all means, with your networks, if you guys could share and help us grow across the nation with Fund the First, that would be excellent.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we're definitely going to leave all the information on the descriptions. This is also going up on YouTube, the website. So there'll be plenty of places where the links are going to be shared. And of course, if anyone wants to give you a call and just get more information in regards to something that they're probably still unclear about, you can totally call Robert up. He's going to completely answer your phone. And this is great. This is a great opportunity, and we hope that those listening to the podcast, those watching the video on YouTube, get the opportunity to experience it, whether it is any type of funding they're going to do. Just give the website a try, see how different it is from something that we've been familiar with for the past few years, and you know, do it for a good cause to make sure that it goes to the right person more than anything.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, we're so excited. Thank you, Robert, so much for your time. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we end this episode?
No, that's all. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Robert. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.